Hello, Michelle. How are you today?
I'm good, Lindsay. Lindsay, do you like cake?
Cake? Of course I do. I mean, if I had to choose between cake and pie, it would be pie, but I do like
Okay.
cake. I will eat cake. Yes.
What's like your favorite kind of cake?
Oh, I love a good chocolate lava cake,
Oh,
where it's nice
yeah,
and
that's
rich. Yeah.
yep.
Yep. What about
That
you?
that that is good. Phew, I wasn't even thinking about that one, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I would go with that too.
Yeah. It's kind of,
I don't think
yeah.
cookies are still my favorite
Okay.
over cake. I would rather have a
Yes, that
cookie.
is the trivia that we know about you, Michelle. It's cookies
Yeah.
over ice cream, cookies over cake. But when I think about cake, though, I don't think about lava cake. I think about the
Right.
traditional, like wedding cake, birthday
Sheet
cake,
cake.
sheet cake. Yeah, for sure.
What is a sheet
A
cake?
sheet cake is kind of just a one layer cake, right? Kind of looks like it's the
Yeah.
size of a pan in a way.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
they have it in the grocery store,
Yeah.
and maybe you have the buttercream frosting,
Yeah.
hopefully, right? Yeah.
Okay. Yes, exactly. So today, Lindsay, we are going to be talking about cake because we have a really good expression that we want to teach our listeners today. I'm excited for this one. Lindsay, do you want to share what it is?
Yes, that expression is have your cake and eat it too. I love this.
What?
Yes. What in the world does this mean, Michelle? I mean, we do hear this out in the world a fair amount, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
What does it
This is
mean?
a pretty common one, actually. And it's one of those where it's hard to think of an example of it until you're in the moment. And
Yeah.
then, do you know what I mean? We have
Mhm.
some like that where it's just in the moment, it just comes to you.
Yeah.
But we're going to help you guys out today. The so when you analyze this expression, let's take it unpack it a little bit. So, is it possible to have or hold your cake and eat it and still be holding it after you eat it?
Well, the weird thing is, I mean, you can hold a piece of cake in a plate on a plate, right? And eat it.
Yeah.
But I guess if you finish the cake, it's gone. So you're no longer holding the cake. Is that what you're getting at, kind of?
Right, exactly,
Okay.
right. If you finished eating it,
Yeah.
you can't also hold it.
Right.
So,
Okay.
this is kind of the essence of this expression. So, to have your cake and eat it too is to get 2 benefits from something, to have 2 things at
Yes.
once.
Yes.
So, yeah, like, you're holding it. I mean, it would be great if there were endless cake, if you just finished eating the cake and then magically more cake just popped up into your hand. But it doesn't really work that way, I guess, unless you're at some sort of all right, I won't get into it.
Unless you're at a
But
wedding. I guess at a wedding, you can get
at a
2 pieces
wedding and
of
it
cake.
just
Sure. Yeah.
exactly. So, but it's just about getting 2 benefits from something. And
Okay.
it generally we use it in a negative way of you can't have your cake and eat it too. Or maybe someone wants to have their cake and eat it too. And we don't really use this in a way of, oh yeah, have your cake and eat it too, right?
Yeah, no, this is used to call people out, right? To call people out and
Right.
say, "Oh, you're trying to get double benefits when you can only get one
Yes.
of those things," right? So this is used in social
Yes.
commentary, poking fun at someone or pushing someone back a little bit, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, we're going to get more into it and give you a bunch of examples coming up. But before we do that, Lindsay, we want to say thank you so much to our
Yes,
reviewers.
guys, we love these reviews and they matter to us. We read every single
Yeah.
review and we look
Yep.
for them. We want to know what you think about the show. So I want to say thank you to Sevak KH from the US, reviewed us on January 30th. And a thank you to someone in Korea on January 30th, also a 5-star review. And another
Ooh.
5-star review from Jian Zhang on January 27th. A huge thank you to these 3 listeners. Amazing.
Thank you so much. It really means the world to us.
Yeah,
So
guys.
definitely, guys, if you haven't left us a review, please leave a review for the show, and we will probably be reading your name on
Yes.
the show as well to give you a shout out.
You got it. So go leave that review wherever you listen, Apple Podcasts, in the iOS or Android app, or Spotify. Leave your review. So, Michelle, let's give our listeners some very clear scenarios
Yeah.
when we would say this. What do we think would be a good one to start out with today?
I think purchasing something, so
Ah.
maybe trying to save for something, but also spending money on something expensive. So he
Mm.
has such expensive taste, but he has a ton of loans from law school. He wants to have his cake and eat it too, pay off his loans and buy expensive clothes.
Yeah, and we wouldn't always necessarily reiterate what the cake, what the eating the cake and having the cake is, right?
Right.
But in this case, we've
Right,
done that for just
for
to
the
make it
sake of the
really
example.
clear.
No,
So,
you're right.
mhm,
You're right. Usually it's kind of implied, right? I
yeah,
already mentioned the 2 things, but for teaching purposes,
yes.
yeah, good point, Lindsay.
Yes, so I love that example. So he wants to pay off his loans and buy expensive clothes. Most of the time, you can't do that. When you're paying off your student loans, you need to save
To
money,
save.
right?
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
What's a
Yeah.
what's another
Well, the
example?
dating world, right? We're always kind of, when we're in our 20s or 30s and we're dating, we're commenting on our friends' dating situations. Okay, finding a boyfriend or girlfriend, but not wanting to commit. She's lonely, but she doesn't want to commit to anyone. She's trying to have her cake and eat it too, but she's starting to realize it doesn't really work as well without the commitment. Oh,
Oh.
a reality check,
A f
right?
a commitment phobe, you would say,
Yeah.
right? So
Hmm.
somebody they are lonely, they wanna find somebody, but they can't. They're not ready
Yes.
to commit.
Yeah, for sure. No, this is true. I mean, that's a thing for sure. Wanting both things, kind of wanting the upside of both sides,
Right.
right?
Yep. Yep,
Yes.
exactly. Or living situations. So this is a I mean, this is a good example. I mean, you can't have your cake and eat it too. It's impossible to find a place in New York City that is affordable and also
Oh, and
spacious.
I would totally attest to that, Michelle. 100%. And you would too, right? It's just, it
Yes.
doesn't exist. There's just no way. It's so funny, Michelle,
Exactly.
after having lived in New York, everywhere I go, anywhere in Denver, or if I rent an Airbnb somewhere random, I will go around that house and I will identify places that in my head could be rented, like a large closet. I'll say, "Oh, this could be a room you could rent in New York."
That's so funny. I do the same thing. I do the same thing.
Yes.
It's yeah, that's really funny because we have like in my old apartment, we had a closet and we would say, "Oh, this could be a bedroom,"
Exactly.
or even now where I am, we have there's a walk-in closet and it's saying,
Yes.
"Oh, we would have put a whole bedroom in New York."
Yep. This is a weird way of thinking that I think only people who have ever lived in New York think that
Yes.
way, but they think
That's
that way for the
funny.
rest of their lives, even if they live in a
That's so
place with a
funny.
ton of space, because just because it's so formative, right? Your experience living in New York. I mean, I know I had
Yeah.
2 or 3 roommates in a like a 3 bedroom or 2.5 bedroom. It was so tight, right?
Yep.
I mean,
Yep, and I had 5.
yeah, that's insane, right? But that's what you do in New York. You take small spaces and
Right.
you rent them. You find a way to make money to subsidize your rent by bringing in
Yep.
another roommate. It's so crazy. Yeah,
Exactly. So you're trying to almost find ways to have your cake and eat it
you
too, but
do.
it's
Yeah.
pretty tricky.
Well, New York changes you forever, Michelle.
That's true.
All right, we are back. So, Michelle, any thoughts here? Anything else? What else do we have here?
Okay, well, do you think sometimes it is possible for someone to have their cake and eat it too? Like, does this ever work? Can you think of a time? Because it's hard for me to think of one even.
Yeah, I think generally it's a law of gravity, kind of, right? It's a law of
Hmm.
gravity. We can't really have the upside of both things. I think sometimes at the end of people's lives, if they've worked really hard, maybe they've built something that they're able to enjoy, they may be able to get a lot of positives out of that thing, but usually there's a downside, right? Usually it's a give and
Right.
take. There's pros and
Right.
cons of everything. What do you think, Michelle?
Yeah, I think it's pretty rare. If you are in a situation where you are having your cake and eating it too, um, you've gotten lucky in some way.
Yeah.
There's something really worked out for yourself. And if so, if you find yourself in this situation, you could say something like,
Mhm.
"Oh my gosh, I'm having my cake and eating it too."
Yeah.
Right? You could kind of comment on it in a humorous
Yeah, I'm
way.
thinking of a situation nowadays, actually, maybe if you're in a hybrid job situation where, people want community, right, at work, they want in person, they want that, contact, but then they
Ah,
also want extreme flexibility.
right.
And that's pretty hard to
Right.
find if you're being asked to go to an office. it's harder to have that flexibility you want. It's harder to leave the office when you want and do what you want to do. But nowadays, a lot of people have hybrid jobs where maybe 2 days a week they're going
Right.
into the office, they're getting the face time that
Right.
they need, the connection. And then the 3 days they're getting to work from home so they can do what they need to
Right.
do throughout the day. So maybe
Right.
that actually is kind
That
of,
is a good
yeah,
that's a perfect example of
yeah,
when somebody can have their cake and eat it too. If you
thank,
have one of those flexible kinds of jobs, but you
yeah,
still get to go in and see people
yeah.
and socialize a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, post pandemic, that's kind of what a lot of people have now. So maybe that's an exception to the law, right? To the rule.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. So let's talk about some other similar ways or similar ideas that we can express. So the first one is to have something both ways.
Yes.
So, yeah, he wants it both ways, but it's impossible. He can't avoid doing tasks at work and then expect his coworkers to respect him.
He can't avoid doing tasks at work and then yeah. So he's kind of like just doing little things, taking orders, you mean? Is that what you mean here with this?
Right, exactly. Like
Yeah.
he's trying to get double benefits, but
Yeah.
he can't his coworkers aren't going to respect
Oh,
him.
if he doesn't do the work. I see. Yeah. That makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah,
Got it.
right.
Okay. Here's another one. You can't make an
So
oh,
this one
yeah.
yeah,
Did
sorry,
you come up
sorry,
with
I
this
just
one?
wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
No, I was looking up examples and I found this. You can't make an omelet without breaking eggs. Have you heard
Yeah,
this?
I haven't, but it makes sense. I mean, it makes sense, right? You can't it's this idea of you can't make something new without risking what you have in a sense, right?
Right, exactly. We can guys, sometimes you can see an idiom, you don't know what it means, but you can kinda try and work it out, and that's
Mhm.
actually a really good exercise, I think,
Yes.
for our students. Take an idiom and try and unpack it, and then look up the definition and see, okay, well, why do we have that idiom,
Yeah.
right?
And here's a sample
Kind of
sentence.
interesting.
Her industry is cutthroat, and she isn't quite a cutthroat person. What she doesn't understand is you can't make an omelet without breaking eggs. Ooh. Okay. So we're saying she's going to have to become a bit of a different person to succeed in her
Right.
industry, kind of.
Yep.
Yes. Yes.
So, Lindsay, why is this good for connection? I mean, what could we use it
Yeah,
for?
I mean, I think,
Use these for?
I think it's good to sort of acknowledge realities of the world and of nature, right? There are certain everything has pros and cons. For any good, let's say work situation or living situation, there's going to be some kind of a pro, right? So we
Right.
can't have it both ways. We can't have our cake and eat it too. It's just a way of commenting on the world in a sense, right? Which I
Yeah.
like that
Yeah.
for connection. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. All right. So, should we do a role play?
Let's do it, Michelle. So here we are friends at lunch. Okay.
All right.
Okay. Oh, I'm just so frustrated. I can't find a big enough apartment.
Oh, I know. That's tough. Well, what are you looking
I
for?
mean, I just want a place with a nice outdoor area and a laundry machine in the apartment, and it has to be under 1,500 a month.
Wow, Lindsay, that's not very much for New York. You might have to make a sacrifice on one of those. You can't have your cake and eat it too.
Well, it has to be out there somewhere. I know people say it's impossible, but I think I can have it both ways.
Well, you can't make an omelet without breaking eggs. Maybe consider trying somewhere outside the city in that case.
Maybe. Yeah. Good luck with that, right? Outdoor area, laundry machine. I think in New York, even I'm not sure about super high end apartment buildings with supers and that kind of with doormen, but a lot of apartment
Mhm.
buildings do have like you have to bring your laundry out. You have to go to the laundromat,
Right.
right? Was that your experience?
I did have a laundry room, a public laundry. I mean, not public, but for the apartment building, there was one in the basement.
Lucky duck.
Uh, yeah. So I did have that. So that was one perk of my building.
That is a
But
perk
it
for sure.
never, and you're not gonna find it in your actual unit.
No way, not in New York. Nope. There's a lot of sacrifices, but hey, it's a great city, right? Um, all
Exactly.
right. So what was the first so what did I say first, Michelle, with can't have your cake? What did I say?
Well,
You said.
you were going over all the things you wanted, and I said you have to sacrifice. You can't have your cake and eat it too. So you can't live in New York and have all of these things.
Right. You can't have a nice outdoor area and a laundry machine and have it be under $1,500 a month. Unlikely, right?
Yep.
And then I said, it has to be out there somewhere. And when I say it, what am I saying? It is. It.
This apartment,
Yeah.
this magical apartment.
Hmm. I know people say it's impossible, but I think I can have this both ways. So I'm very
Uh-huh.
determined that I could find this, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And then I said, "Well, you can't make an omelet without breaking eggs." And I wanna make sure our listeners understand this one is not common. I actually didn't know this
No.
one. So
Yes.
so, this is more kind of a fun one I threw in, but I wouldn't put that at the top of the list of the expressions you try and use.
Yeah, I would
Um,
agree. Yeah, that one's new to me today too. So,
yeah,
yeah, I think have your cake and
but
eat it
it's fun.
too. If you can start with that, if that's what our listeners can come away with today, that's fantastic, right?
Great.
Yeah,
Agreed.
yeah. Yeah, when I was living in New York, I think I kinda had my cake and ate it too, Michelle, a little bit. I had an
Oh,
apartment, I think it was about $1,600 a month. It was a 1 bedroom, but we made it a 2 bedroom, but it was right near Central Park. I mean, it was pretty good, but this was 2006. It was still a good price for that time though. Maybe the key was it was on the Upper East Side, and people don't like the Upper East Side.
Greece.
It's not as desirable.
I think it became more desirable,
Did
actually.
it?
I think Upper East Side became yeah, it kinda had a
Oh, I
yeah,
missed that.
yeah,
Okay,
I think so,
cool. All right.
yeah, my rent yeah. I don't even know what my rent was because it was 5 bedrooms, but mine was the fake room,
Oh,
and
yes.
I don't even remember. It's been so long, but it was certainly I'm sure now it would be way more expensive,
Yeah. Well,
so
shout out to our listeners who are currently living in New York. I'm sure
that's
many of
right.
you are in doing this, but it's worth it. It really is worth it
Yeah.
because it's such an incredible city. Michelle, is there another episode we should check out here?
Yep, guys, head on over. We did episode 2358 was English vocabulary is tricky. You're telling me. I think
Mm,
that's an episode you did with
I
Aubrey.
love that. Any final takeaway for our listeners today?
I guess prioritize what you're looking for, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully you can have your cake and eat it too. But we always have to think about what sacrifices we're willing to make. What's our number one desire? What are we looking for in a situation? And I think if we have that in line, then we can get through things in a lot easier way. But at the same time, don't give up on your dreams. You never know.
Love it. So good, Michelle. Thanks for being on the mic today. And I will see you very soon. All right. Have a good day.
All right.
All right.
Thanks. I'm gonna go eat some
Yeah,
cake.
I know, right? Lava cake. Yay.
All
All right.
right.
Have a good one. All right. Bye.
All right. You too. Bye.